Criminals are definitely getting smarter. Every criminal is using whatever available technology to be able to commit the crimes more efficiently and effectively. Their job is to victimize the community and do it in a way where they don't get caught.
The Torrance Police Department is committed to using innovation and technology to not only outsmart criminals, but also to reach out to the public, to assist our citizens with knowing how to interact better with the police department, and to assist the prosecuting agencies with making their cases presentable to a jury. One of the recent things that we've done in the last couple years is related to crime trends within the city. We had a very forward-thinking gang detail who was in the midst of investigating a number of these crimes on a regular basis, where gangs from Los Angeles were coming into the city of Torrance and committing crimes. And there was a lot of data that they were able to obtain, but sifting through that data was very difficult.
They gave us kind of a new mandate, which was do something different than what's been done here before, be innovative and find a way to investigate these crimes, which kind of led to a relationship with the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office.
It's absolutely essential to have innovative detectives and investigators to keep ahead of crime. Our job is to use the technology to our advantage so that we can make sure that they're held responsible for the crimes that they're committing.
We looked outside of law enforcement. We actually ended up finding some people who were working on a project at Harvard. And we reached out and started a relationship with them in terms of how do we develop something that helps us get through the data and find the things that we need.
I'm Scott, I'm the CEO of Mark 43. When we started working with Torrance in 2013, what we found was a group of detectives and a command staff that was pushing the cutting edge in technology. They were trying out new techniques that we had not seen anywhere across the country, and we really wanted to be a part of that. The software we built with the Torrance Police Department is really all about mapping relationships between criminals, looking at how they work together, how they talk together, what they do, and how we can actually use those networks of those relationships to help find criminal connections, to find the perpetrators of crimes, and really start bringing people to justice.
One particular case, individuals were driving through Torrance when they were stopped for a traffic violation, routine traffic violation.
The vehicle ended up being searched, and they found what would be deemed as suspicious items such as zip ties, change of clothes, gloves, and more notably the fact that the license plates were removed and in the trunk, and also a firearm that had been concealed in the vehicle. The gun couldn't be attributed to anybody, and no known crime that they were attached to had occurred.
Fortunately, what we had is the resources of being able to go through the defendant's cell phone records. And the way we were able to do that is by obtaining a warrant.
Using the software with Mark 43, was able to pull data from numerous public sources, and all these data sets can be viewed in a more organized fashion within the software and compiled. And when you start having that kind of exploitation, you start realizing a pattern of activities that these types of individuals have been attached to or could be involved in.
And what they were able to do is put together a timeline in which they were able to place the defendants in different locations all together at a particular time. And it turned out that these particular locations had occurred in nearby cities where there had been takeover robberies, armed takeover robberies. Those cases would not have been solved, but with the efforts of the Torrance police detectives, those cases ended up being solved, and those individuals were arrested and brought to justice.
Another particular case, parole search of a target's house. This particular gang member was directing younger gang members to commit crimes in our city. So we went to go see what kind of evidence we could find. The parole search turned up defendant's cell phone and $18,000 in cash. And then on this particular cell phone, you had 5 text messages that were received. Those 5 received text messages indicated a conspiracy between another member of the gang to commit some kind of a crime, but we only had one part of that conversation. Utilizing the techniques that we had, we wrote search warrants and started developing out the information from that phone and those 5 text messages. You start looking at social media, you start looking at other places that you can get data. Sometimes it's tolls from toll roads, and all those forms of data start coming back into the system, names of monikers from contacts lists, and it ultimately leads to the identification of a series of robberies committed by the members of this particular gang. The system essentially is just allowing you to take all these different pieces of data that you have and have always had and see things that you've never been able to see before.
It's important for us as a command staff to understand that our personnel who are out there investigating these crimes have a better idea of how to improve their investigative abilities. It's kind of the trust that's been built over time here with our gang unit and our other investigators, and we continue to try to preach that and to use them as an example of how folks can take that innovation and bring it forward and utilize it in a very positive manner.
Really what happened in Torrance is a success story. It's a success story because you have detectives who are able to then be creative about the ways to obtain the technology and be able to use that technology to gather evidence to prove the suspects are held responsible for those crimes and that the community itself is safer. That is what separates Torrance detectives from routine detectives at different agencies.